I was settling in for a nice, relaxing night and just kind of hanging out. I was going to play some video games. And then all of a sudden, I look over at Fantasy Flight Games homepage and article came out. So I guess we're going to be talking about that now. All right. So a brand new article, man, they were releasing these at weird times. Now, I think they're keeping us on our toes because they got on that we knew about what they knew about like timing and stuff. I don't know, but I feel like they're throwing us a lot of curveballs or they're trying to rush to something. I don't know. Not complaining by any means. Not even with the intro. Wasn't complaining or anything. It's just it's very interesting is all. So anyway, they talk about the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is the second scenario of Age of Apocalypse. We kind of knew this already, right? We know this is going to be the second one. And then most likely the third's going to be Apocalypse himself, and then fourth will probably be Dark Beast. That's basically our guess right now. So this generally makes sense. Sorry, it is late. I didn't think I'd be doing a video this late, but that's all right. All right, so they talk about the apocalypse is nigh as we approach the onset of Marvel Champions League expansion. We want to take a deeper look in each scenario. And this is a very basic overlook of what's to be expected in this scenario. One thing that I will say is the Rough Riders reference made again. Obviously, X going to give it to you. Obviously, they're fans of this YouTube channel. So, Fantasy Flight, if you want to work together, feel free to reach out to me. My email is down below. So, as we introduced in the Age of Apocalypse announcement article, the Four Horsemen scenarios pit you against 4 villains at once. So, they show us our 4, which is it's got an A side, so we can assume B side is going to be your expert side, most likely. So, War is a 1-2. 9 hit points that line. After war attacks you, if it has at least 1 hit point, discard, upgrade, or support you control, which is kind of rough. War cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. So this is basically if you defeat it, right? Like he has 0 hit points, he's still going to attack, but at least he won't do his forced response, right? That's the whole purpose of this. Famine is a 2-1-9. After Famine attacks you, if she has at least 1 hit point, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. Okay, that's aggressive. Pestilence 2-1-9 as well. After Pestilence attacks you, if she has at least 1 hit point, treat your identity's text box as if it were blank until the next villain phase begins. Hulk, good. Hulk, good. Yeah, Hulk, good. And then Death is a 1-2-9. It's interesting that they're all like variations of 1-2. 1-2, 2-1, 2-1, 1-2, right? I think they were even, right? Yeah, they were even. But also 9 hit points. They're all 9 hit points, which is interesting. We'll have to see on the expert side if it's the same with that as well. After Death attacks you, if he has at least 1 hit point, deal 1 damage to each character you control, which is a bit rough. So all this is a bit rough. So together they are the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. This is stage 1B, 12 threat counter threshold thing. After a villain activates, move the active counter to the next villain. So they're gonna have 4 coming out there. They make a comment. Also, it only goes up by 1. It's at 12. It's only 1 stage. It's not too hard, right? Hopefully you can keep this in check pretty easily. But anyway, so you need to defeat all 4 of them. That's fine. So it's going to be like other scenarios you've seen with multi-villain scenarios, kind of like Wrecking Crew and whatever the other ones are. The Sinister Six, and I want to say there's more. But all 4 out there, you have to defeat them. Like the Tower one, right? Had 2 of them out there. Defeat all 6. Okay. Similar to the past multi-villain scenarios, the Four Horsemen scenario has an active villain counter which moves each time a villain activates. Pretty simple stuff. However, this time the villains are dealt out in a random order, which is fine, which affects the order of their activations. This means each time you play a scenario will be slightly different depending on the order you face them in. The Horsemen may hit you with some brutal combos. Okay, cool, right? And I guess if you really want to get advanced with it, you can force them to be in a certain order. So this way it affects you more negatively if you need a harder challenge or a bit easier. Like there'll be some interesting ways to do those combos. Like with past multi-villain scenarios, only the attacking or the active villain, will attack or scheme, but there are plenty of cards in the Four Horsemen encounter set that help them encounter set that help them assail you. That is a weird sentence. I cannot read. You even out of turn. For example, each of the horsemen has a signature side scheme that mimics their inherent ability. So we have the Ravagers of War side scheme. It comes in with 6. It's not per hero. It's just flat. So it could be interesting how this scales for solo. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme discards upgrade support to control, which is terrible, and comes in with extra bad card each round. Then a time for famine, again with 6. When defeated, the player who defeated this, discards the top 10. We kind of saw this with an acceleration token. Oops, sorry, I went way too far. Plague and pestilence, again with 6. Basically, it's just bad things. And when you finish the thing, it's more bad things, right? It's just bad things on bad things. So last player to defeat this, the trait box is blank until the next villain phase, which is interesting. We haven't really seen too many side schemes do that. So that's actually kind of cool. And then the Spectre of Death. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme deals 1 damage to each character they control, and it's got a boost icon on it. So it's interesting that, again, it's not scaling for multiplayer. It's just a straight shot. So usually whenever it's like that, it generally affects solo the most. Negatively, it seems, but we'll see, right? We'll see. They each have their own treachery. So Horsemen of War. When revealed, heal 2 damage from War and give him a tough stats card. He activates against you. Not a great card, pretty rough. And after his activation, War activates against you. Really rough. Do not give War a boost card for the activation. At least that helps, but still it's going to activate against you. Golden Horse is an attachment attached to the attached to the villain with the fewest hit points without the aerial trait. They gain the aerial trait and is considered to have at least 1 hit point. After you attach a villain, resolve its force response as if it attacked you, discard this card. All right. Metal Wings, attached to death and move the active counter to him. He gains retaliate, is considered to have at least 1 hit point remaining. This way, so that he still does like his activation thing, even if you knock him out, right? You still can do it. After you attack death, resolve his force response as if he attacked you, discard this card. And it gives him +1/+1, as did this one. Okay, so it shows the 2 of them, right? Drain your deck. All right. Spectre of Death. Wait, we did that one. Horseman War, Golden Horses, and Death's Metal Wings, and you'll have to pull out all the stops to keep these Rough Riders from overwhelming you. X gonna give it to you. So Rough Rider's Treachery, resolve the force response on the active villain as if it has at least 1 hit point and it attacked you. Move that counter to the next villain, resolve its force response the same way. That stinks. That's a rough card. There's a lot of rough cards in here. So there's that. Okay. So then it gets into these cards, which of course the Four Horsemen aren't the only ones hunting the heroes. And again, we'll go in a little more detail about this, but what we've seen so far is pretty, while the idea is the same, it's a rough scenario. And I think this is really kind of good, right? I think difficulty is good right now. And we'll get into more of that later. So, of course, the Four Horsemen are not the only ones hunting the heroes. One of the scenarios recommending counter sets, Hound, introduces the insidious Ahab? I don't know which way to say that. But 2/3/5 Cyborg Tracker comes in with tough. When revealed, if release the Hounds is in play, place 3 threat on it. Otherwise, fine release the Hound side scheme and reveal it. Into the fray. This ruthless cyborg commands a pack of Hounds. So Hound is a 1/2/2 stat line with guard. If you are in hero form, Hound attacks you. Otherwise, change your identity to hero form. Which means they're just going to attack me, right? I'm never an alter ego. They can sift you out even if you're in alter ego form. And he can hurl an energy spear. So attached to him is +2 attack. Attached to Ahab, otherwise it would just go to the villain, so it doesn't even get wasted. When an attached enemy attacks you, this attack gains overkill and piercing. At the end of this attack, discard the spear. With his ability to release the Hounds immediately upon arrival, this is one foe you can't afford to take lately. We're seeing a lot of really rough side schemes. That's the one thing I've gotten from the last box and this one. The last article and this one. So the first copy of the Hounds revealed each phase gains Surge. Comes again with 5, not scaling. The player who defeated this scheme searches the encounter deck and discard battle for a Hound and deals it to himself as a face down encounter card. Stinks. All right, so with threats like the Horsemen and Ahab at large, as no one in the state of the world is in such a dystopian nightmare, sometimes you are hunted, which is a dystopian nightmare obligation. Extra bad card, discard a card from your hand to discard this card. It's alter ego action. And then they have War Weary. When revealed, you are stunned. If you're already stunned, take 2 damage. That's a pretty basic card, but that's fine. But as a boost icon, does the same exact thing, which is worse in my opinion. And then targeted for extermination. It comes again with 3, no scaling. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme confuses their identity, which stinks, and it's got a crisis icon on it. So sometimes you're worried that drags you down. Sometimes you're just targeted for elimination. As the shadow of apocalypse looms high, you and your fellow heroes will have to pull out all the stops to emerge victorious. Each of the 4 horsemen is threatening on their own. Together, they are exceedingly dangerous, and with minions like a hob in their ranks, they are downright devastating. Of course, even with all their might, the horsemen pale in comparison to their master. Keep your eye out for more previews of Age of Apocalypse scenarios in the coming weeks. All right, so this basically kind of confirms that Apocalypse is going to be the 3rd one, and Beast will be the 4th, right? Dark Beast. We don't know. We don't officially know, but again, if you follow this channel along, we've already kind of figured this out because of we were able to slow down the spinning box. So we don't know who the final villain is, so I guess that's gonna be a big surprise. But anyway, one of the things that I have noticed is that the villains themselves are not tough. So this will once again make them a little more susceptible to rush strategy. 9 damage is not hard to do, right? I mean, Spider-Man Peter Parker swings for what is it? Web kick or whatever. Does 8 damage, swings for 2, right? He's knocked one of them out. Now it still activates against you, but doesn't do its special ability. So rushing is always going to be a good strategy. It's still a good strategy here. Now, what I do like about this set is that it really seems like a lot of the cards are rough. I mean, they're just rough. And I think my biggest issue with the past 2 boxes is that the difficulty was way too low. All right, it's way too easy for a lot of this stuff. The first X-Men box, I understood why it was so easy because you're hopefully bringing a lot more people into the X-Men stuff, and you want it to be a bit easier to like ease new players into the game. I totally get that. I still think Next Evolution should have been much more difficult. Now, again, the main scheme is pretty high threshold, right? And the villains themselves, like I said, are a little bit weaker, but the cards that come with them, like the attachments and the treachery cards, they're pretty rough, right? They can be pretty rough cards. And to be honest, the Hound's modular set is a bit rough, right? And Dystopian Nightmare is a bit rough. And I wonder if that's going to be the theme of this box, is that the treachery cards and the attachments are the things you're going to have to watch out the most in this box. Which I think is interesting. And not always does the difficulty scale that the first villain is the easiest and the 5th one is the hardest, right? That's not at all how it is, all the time. But that is like the rough idea, right? The really rough idea. There's obviously examples you can point out where it's different, but I think generally speaking, it kind of follows that pattern, right? So with that being said, I think this is a really good, if we follow that pattern, right? I think this is a really good step number 2, right? Or a second villain, right? If this is the difficulty level of the villain, it looks pretty decent. Like I said, it's got the things that you can exploit still, right? Things that you can take advantage of. But I think the treachery cards so far are looking really good. I like the mod sets. I think they're looking really good. There's nothing too crazy, I feel like, that we've seen in this article. It's not anything too insane. But it's cool that they're doing this, right? It's cool that they're doing all this preview stuff for Age of Apocalypse. Kind of hyped for it. Kind of excited. I mean, I am excited for it. I'm also ready to be done with X-Men, but I'm excited that they're closing this out. Looks like they're going to do a good job with it. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, right? Let me know what you think about this announcement, what you think about the Four Horsemen in general. My one concern is that there's no scaling in the size games. Maybe they're just trying to punish us solo players, and they're just like, nah, these YouTubers who play solo are just talking too much smack, so we gotta, just knock them down a peg or two, which is fine. Challenge accepted. I have Valkyrie, so I don't really care. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what your general thoughts are. I'm really interested to hear that. And if you want to do me a huge favor, make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, all that fun stuff. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all next time.